Today, Emmanuel Sandhu defends his Grand Prix final title. The Canadian champion overcame long odds to win Skate Canada, but another Sandhu season has been buffeted by inconsistency. Jeff Buttle provides Canada with a strong 1-2 punch. Jeff already a winner this year at the Grand Prix of China. But Evgeny Plushenko, the three-time world champion, is ready for all challengers, eager to atone for last year's upset loss to Sandhu. In dance, the national champions Marie-France Dubreuil and Patrice Lauzon hope to high-step up the standings. In their way, the elegant world champions Navka Kostomarov defend their title and top ranking at the Grand Prix finals from Beijing. The top six in each of four skating disciplines have advanced to the Grand Prix finals in Beijing, China, second only to the World Championships in significance on the ISU skating calendar. Hi everybody, Happy New Year. Welcome to our first of two shows from the Grand Prix finals. Chris Cuthbert along with Barb Underhill and Paul Martini. It's been a great year for Canada on the Grand Prix circuit as this country has advanced 5 entries to the Grand Prix finals, 2 men, 2 women, and an ice dance team. Today we'll focus on the ice dance and the men's. And Barb, in the men's, we have the defending champion, Emmanuel Sandhu, Jeffrey Buttle, going up against the world champion, Evgeny Plushenko, who was the first alternate, but now is in the competition and, of course, becomes the favorite.
And, you know, it's a surprise that he's even here. He was really holding back this season. He only competed in 1 Grand Prix event, but he finds himself here. He's been very quiet this season in order to preserve himself for the World Championships later in Russia. And as well, I think this is, he's looking long term. He's looking at the Olympics, and this is all the process for him. But no matter whether he's injured or not, when he steps onto the ice, he is always the prohibitive favorite because he is such an unbelievable competitor. Last year, he lost this event on a technicality with the new judging system. You can be sure that won't happen this year, but last year it opened the door for Emmanuel Sandhu, who ended up winning the event. So this event is very important for Emmanuel coming in as the defending champion. For him, it's all about nailing that quad off the top of the program. I think his success depends on that opening jump. For Jeff Buttle, the other Canadian in the event, we have yet to see him at his very best this season. Remember, he does not have the quad, so he needs absolutely everything else. And then if he does it, see where that fits in.
He's glad to be competing here after missing last year because of food poisoning. Let's turn our attention to the ice dance. 3 different teams were winners on the Grand Prix circuit this year, and the Canadians were second at Skate Canada.
Well, this ice dance competition at the Grand Prix final, I think, is all about the Russians, Navka Kostomarov, setting themselves up as the undeniable #1 dance team in the world. They are the defending world champions. They come into this competition with having already been defeated once by the Bulgarians of Denkova and Stavinsky. So you've got that in the mix, but I think the real wild card here is where do the Americans of Belbin and Augusto fit in? From a Canadian perspective, Dubreuil and Lauzon are appearing at their 5th consecutive Grand Prix final. That is a huge testament to their skill and talent, and they would love nothing more than to win a medal at this competition.
Let's get to the skating then, and we begin with the original dance. The new scoring system allows us a measure of comparison. This year, Navka Kostomarov, the defending world champions, with the best score in the original dance. That was at the Grand Prix of Russia. And as you can see, a score in the mid-60s will have you right in the thick of the competition. Let's begin with the 2-time Canadian champions, Marie-France Dubreuil and Patrice Lauzon, their 5th consecutive Grand Prix final appearance, trying to improve on a 6th-place finish in each of their first 4 entries here at the Grand Prix finals.
This year, the original dance is a rhythm combination, and the skaters must combine 2 or 3 of the following: slow foxtrot, quick step, and the Charleston rhythms. two different types of lifts, one dance spin and two step sequences. And this is the first of their step sequence, the midline. A little bit of a stumble there.
Second step sequence, good energy, good flow out there with this couple this afternoon.
And close with their final required move, the dance spin.
Tenth year together, now training in France, Marie-France Dubray and Patrice Lauzon.
I thought that was a beautiful performance. It was very relaxed. It flowed beautifully throughout. They did have one small little stumble on the required step sequence, but overall I thought it was a great performance.
It's important to remember that here at the Grand Prix final, the dancers do not execute any compulsory dances. So they start with this original dance. You're seeing many moves that the dancers are now doing that are a variation on what pair skaters have done for many years, because these elements are now mandatory in the program.
They were second at Skate Canada and third at the Grand Prix of China. And their best score was 60.99 in Beijing a month ago, but not as high here. Their original dance score, 58.06.
When you're at a competition like the Grand Prix final, you are in amongst the very finest in the world at this particular point in time, and I'm sure they're aware of the fact that the slip you mentioned, Barb, is going to pull that first mark down, and it's all about not letting those marks slip away during an event.
Coming up next, Montreal native Tanith Belbin and her American partner Benjamin Augusto at the Grand Prix final. Medalists Albita Denkova and Maxim Stavitsky of Bulgaria. They look like the team to beat early in the year when they won their first two events, Skate Canada and the Grand Prix of Japan, but were beaten soundly by the defending world champions at the Grand Prix of France.
This is a high energy couple, and the Charleston, as you see them starting with here, is a perfect vehicle for this couple.
They're opening with their midline step sequence. See, there's a little bit of distance between them there. The skaters must not skate more than 2 arms lengths apart from each other.
A little stumble there by Albana.
their second step sequence. And this one's a little bumpy as well.
Second at last year's Grand Prix final, Denkova and Stavitsky of Bulgaria.
Well, so far, both of the teams we've seen skate have looked a little tight out there. They both had little mistakes through the course of the performance. I didn't think either team has delivered the best possible skate. And if I was to put marks up personally, I think I would go with Dubreuil and Lausanne over this performance.
Here's a look at their required dance spin. But I thought where they really struggled was on both step sequences. The first one, they were way too far apart, and the second one, they just looked really tight and quite awkward. It was just not a smooth performance for them.
Seven-time Bulgarian champions. And the score 59-7-3. That is the first time they have not been over 60 for an original dance this season. However, it is a mark just under 2 points better than the Canadians.
And it's important to look at the fact that technically the Canadians and this Bulgarian team match up. It's the program component scores that made the difference here.
Let's find out how the Canadians felt about their program as they're standing by with James Cowling.
Here I am with Canadian champions Marie-France Dubreuil and Patrice Lausanne. Delightful program. You seem like you're having a lot of fun out there. Just tell me how you thought it went.
It went really well. It's really late. It's 11 something here in China, but still we're in top shape and we skated really well. And this program is really catchy. People really get into it, so it helps us.
Right. Yeah, Patrice, a little bit of a stumble on the footwork.
Little here and there, but nothing major. The rest of the program was really, really good. We were both really into it, and it was great. It's a program that we love a lot, so it's very fun to skate.
So the Canadians ranked behind the Bulgarians as Tanith Belbin and Benjamin Augusto of the United States take the ice. Winners of 2 Grand Prix events this year, Skate America and the Grand Prix of China. The World Junior Champions from 2002.
This team has been on such a roll and has had such great success. I just don't know how, come 1 year from now, when they're ineligible to go to the Olympic Games, how they're going to react to that. Their ineligibility is due to the fact that Tanith will not have completed her American citizenship, which she needs to have to compete for the United States at the Olympic Games.
See how they do on this midline footwork step. Seems to be where all the mistakes are happening today. Twizzle sequence was very well done, and that must be incorporated into the sequence this year in the footwork.
I like the speed of rotation. It's been the best we've seen so far.
Step, and they've upped the difficulty of this step sequence since the last event. Just a little tight and slow here towards the end of it.
It's certainly a young, dynamic team on the rise. Tanith Belvin, Benjamin Augusto of the United States.
Well, under the program component scores, there's a section called skating skills. And it doesn't come out and say it, but there should be a category called how well do you just float effortlessly across the ice, because this team just covers so much ice, never look like they're working, and they just seem to be on a cloud out there.
And it's a team that continues to improve every single year. If there's a team that may challenge Navka and Kostomarov in the near future, I believe it's going to be this team. However, the disappointment will be next year at the Olympic Games when this team will not be able to be there.
Tanith, born in Kingston, raised in Montreal, was a pair skater at one time, and now training with Benjamin at Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. The original dance score 62.37. That's good for the lead. Not quite matching their best score of the year, but maybe that's a sign that this panel is a little less liberal with the marks. Nevertheless, Belvin and Augusto are the leaders here in the original dance. Still to come, the Russian champions will also review the new scoring system at the Grand Prix final. And since the new system was implemented, the highest original dance scores posted by the defending world champions, Tatiana Navka and Roman Kostomarov of Russia, 66.77 at the Grand Prix of Russia. They also won in France after opening the season with a shaky performance, but they have been vastly improved in their last two Grand Prix.
Their diagonal step sequence. They have great flow and energy. After they were beaten in their first event this season, they realized afterwards they really need to work on adding difficulty to the programs because they were beaten on the technical mark. But they've certainly put a lot of miles on these programs since then.
the defending World and Grand Prix final champions, Navka and Kostomarov of Russia.
Having the opportunity to see this team skate directly after Belbin and Augusto of the United States, I would flip a coin. They're so close in terms of talent, in terms of interpretation, in terms of the unison flow speed. I thought if the Americans had an edge anywhere in the program, it was maybe in the midline step sequence. I thought their twizzles were more solidly executed. If I was judging, I'd put them so close that it was okay. Come out in that free dance, may the best man win, because they were really well matched.
It's a little bit more difficult for this team to achieve the higher levels on the lifts because of the fact that they're so close in height.
Coached by former world champion Alexander Julin. One of the great advantages of the new scoring system that you outlined, Paul, is that you can measure improvement, and we saw an 8-point improvement from their first Grand Prix to the next, 65.30 here. So they are the leaders, and it's almost a 3-point lead over the Americans.
I would have personally had it closer, but one of the things that we've been discussing is the fact they went back after their first event, and that's because each skater gets direct feedback after each competition as to what they did and how they were scored, so they know what to work on to get better.
So almost a 3-point lead for Navka Kostomarov over Belbin and Augusto. The Canadians, Dubray and Lausanne, are in 5th place, and even the leaders are still adjusting to the new scoring system.
You know, it's really hard now to skate with this new judging system, with these new all elements. Of course, much more harder to create the program because like you have to think just all about elements, and it's hard to do some expression in the program because like everything you have to do on the 4th or 3rd level, and of course it's much more harder.
I want to say it's really they need to do something. It's a good idea about all elements, but what is going on right now, all couples doing the same lifts.
I think it looks like
same
now like
twizzles.
pair skaters.
Yeah.
Now like pair skaters.
And it's like, for me it's boring. I'm so disappointed because next year is Olympic, and I always dreaming like to do some program that all skaters after us look at this program and say, wow, like we're looking now at Torvill Zink, Leonov Marenko, Savajulin. That was something unbelievable, you know.
All of them was different, and they have some, each couple like had some special style, you know, and
which like nobody has. So and now I afraid for next year because I really want to do some program that people remember, and it's impossible with this system.
So some controversial thoughts from the leaders. We'll have more of the free dance later, but coming up, the men take center stage.